Welcome back to another edition of Storytime with Hank. Cross out Hank, insert Duke. Hank is busy doing something else today. Did not want to partake in this one, so we've got Duke. And what we do in this instance is we'll let Duke point at a bait on the board behind me, which is a board full of baits that have special meaning to me and that I've got some good stories behind. And it's basically a wall full of baits that have been retired. So I'm going to let Duke pick out a bait, and we'll give you the background on it. Which one? Okay. So this one right here is just an old floating Rapala that I got from my grandpa years and years ago. He ended up passing away several years ago at this point. And when I started my professional career, I carried that bait with me in the day box of my boat. So I've actually had that bait the last 9 seasons. It rode in the boat with me, and it ended up kind of, the box started getting destroyed. I think I speared a wave somewhere and it just kind of started disintegrating. So I figured, you know what, I would retire it and I would hang it here to make sure that I had it forever. But it's just one of those baits. Every time I kind of open my day box, I'd see it in there, kind of give me a little peace of mind and kind of settle you down for the day. And it just has a lot of meaning to me. All right, Duke, how about another one? Yeah. Which one? That frog? Okay. So, this is just another Spro frog that has special meaning to me because it was a bait that got me a good finish in an event on Lewis Smith Lake, and I had a really good bag already at that point. I think I had like 16 pounds of spotted bass, and I went into the back of a little creek that had a bunch of floating debris in it, and my co-angler threw up by the bank and had a fish swirl on it. And he kept fishing at it and never got a fish to bite. And I kind of, worked the back of the pocket and then started coming back. And I threw my bait up along the bank. And my co-angler goes, "That's right where I had that fish swirl on it." And when that happened, I had a 4.5 pound largemouth eat the frog, which I then caught and boated. And my co-angler and I had a pretty good laugh about it. I ended up having like 17.5 pounds on the day and had a real good finish. It just was a funny experience because, I mean, you couldn't have timed it any better. I mean, literally my co-angler's like, "That's exactly where that fish swirled on my bait." And it was like, "Kachoosh," and he just swallowed it. And it was pretty crazy. My co-angler laughed about it, but at the same time, I think he was kind of mad at me at the same time. But that's how it goes. All right, Duke, that was a good one. Which one? The Pollywoglers? Okay, well, so this again is a family bait. It's some Uncle Josh Pollywoggles. These go back again to my grandpa. I pretty much started fishing because of my grandpa through my dad. We would take vacations up to the Hayward, Wisconsin every year for 2 weeks. And we'd stay on the Tiger Calf flowage, which has a ton of lily pads. And my grandpa would take Uncle Josh pork frogs on the back of some Johnson silver spoons, and that's all he would throw. And that's all I threw when I started fishing. I mean, that was like, we went up there, that was the only bait we threw, and then we kind of started experimenting with other baits. But yeah, these Pollywoggles are straight out of his tackle box again, and have been retired and put right here. Do you see another one that we haven't talked about? You like this guy? So this is an old Bagley crankbait that has been through a lot, to say the least. This bait I actually found years and years and years ago, and I ended up putting to work when I got up here to school. I went to college here at the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, pretty much right on the shores of the Wisconsin River, which is a stained body of water where orange works great for smallmouth, for everything. But in this case, I've caught an absolute ton of smallmouth on this. You can see the teeth marks in it from pike and muskie and walleye. I mean, it's just caught an absolute ton of baits, a ton of fish, and got to the point where I just don't even know that it would hold up, you know, if I had a big fish on it. Some of the hook hangers and stuff look like they're starting to pull out. So the bait has been retired and put on the board. Should we do one more? You want to pick out one more? Do you see anything good? You want me to talk about this one? No? That one? Well, this is just an antique bait. It's actually a reproduction of an old head and minnow. This was given to me as a Christmas gift. One thing about me is I am a tackle junkie of all ages of tackle. I have got a ton of antique tackle as well. In this case, this is just a repo that's pretty cool, of an original bait, but I truly love old tackle as well. I really like old creek chubs. They're kind of my jam, if you would say, but it's interesting to me how you see baits evolve from, you know, literally 100 years ago to almost how they can come full circle back to current times. And when a bait comes out now, it's like, oh, this cool new bait. But yet if you're familiar with antique tackle, a lot of times it was, you know, 80 years old when it originally was started to be utilized. So I collect a ton of tackle. This bait, just like I said, that was given to me as a gift, and I just put it up there because I think it's a cool looking bait. Do you want to do one more? Okay. Okay, the crawling. Okay. So this is just a Crawfish Yozuri crank. So like I mentioned in I think the last episode, I like to, hold on buddy, I like to keep baits that were given to me by people. This is a bait that Luke Clausen cut off his lure. We were doing a photo shoot together, and said, you know, he catches a ton of fish on him, and, you know, just gave it to me. And at that point I said, well, hey, you know, I've got a bait from Luke Clausen. It's going on the board. Can't say I've ever thrown it, but it's a bait that, you know, again, I think is pretty cool to have. And, you know, Luke is a buddy of mine at this point, and one of those guys that before I knew him, you know, like before I got into fishing, you know, I knew Luke Clausen as a Bassmaster Classic winner and Forrest Wood Cup winner, and now he's a buddy of mine, which is a pretty cool thing to say. I'm still a huge, kind of just a huge fan of the sport, so it surprises me when I'm fishing a tournament and I look to my left and my right and I see all these guys that, you know, I used to watch on TV, and at this point they're more friends to me than you know, competitors or anything else. But so I think that's enough for today's episode. We got plenty more baits to do, a few more, and in this case, you know, I appreciate it. If you like the videos, please leave a comment, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll have more videos to come for you, right, Duke? You want to look at the camera? Okay, you don't have to. Thanks.